flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to call this Board of Managers meeting to order at right around 12:30. Approval of minutes from the last meeting. I need a motion for somebody to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Opportunity for the public to address the board on agenda items only. Okay, we're going to go into the Juvenile Detention Center Report 18-2013. Mrs. Stein?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Currently, we have 4 juveniles at the facility. June admissions was at 16. Year-to-date admissions is at 93. Days of service in June for males is 129. Females is up significantly from last year, 56, and the costs are listed below. Overtime is at $13,727.76. The breakdown is also listed below, and that is due to staffing. Staffing report, we have 1 detention officer still on intermittent FMLA and 1 officer on military leave, and the center is still scheduled for a pre-audit on July 30th and 31st. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mrs. Stein? Okay, thank you. A motion to accept her report? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opportunity for the public to address the board. Members, other business? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This concludes the Board of Managers meeting for Wednesday, July 25th. And we're going to move right on to the Prison Board. We're going to call this meeting in order. A motion to approve the minutes of the last Prison Board meeting. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opportunity for the public to address the board on agenda items only. Okay, we're going to get into a motion. 18-1030, a motion to approve all current payables for the Community Correction Center, Juvenile Detention Center, and the prison. A motion on the floor?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. DeBillio, 18-1031, the Controller's Report.
Mind if I borrow this?
Not at all.
Yeah. Thank you, Sheriff. The Controller's Office reviewed the prison inmate and canteen account reconciliations which were prepared by the prison's business office for the month of June 2018 and found no discrepancies between the reconciliations and the bank statements. The balance in the inmate account was $371,562.30 as of June 30th, 2018. The balance in the canteen checking account was $520,746.95 as of June 30th, 2018. And in addition, as of June 30th, the canteen account owned 2 certificates of deposit, one valued at $15,000 even, and one at $131,943.09, which totals $146,943.09. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. DeBillio. Anybody have any questions for Mr. DeBillio? Motion to accept his report? Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, next report, Community Correction Center Report 18-1032. Mr. Jeffers.
Good afternoon, Board.
Good afternoon.
Our report for the month of June in 2018. Item 1, our program totals for the month. Male work release had 47 participants. Female work release had 3. Adult house arrest had 100 participants. And juvenile house arrest had 13. Item 2, our program revenues for the month of June totaled $67,448.60. Item 3, our program's expenses for the month totaled $82,114.99. Item 4, program completions, work release had 13, house arrest had 37. Our violations, work release had 3, house arrest had 9. Our programs warrants, work release has 8, house arrest has 3. Item 7, our budget for the year, overtime is at 63%, expenses 47%, and revenue is at 54%. That concludes my report.
Any questions for Mr. Jeffers? Thank you, Mr. Jeffers.
Thank you, Board.
Motion to accept the Community Correction Center report.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Warden's report, Mr. Betty.
Good afternoon, members of the board.
Good afternoon.
The average daily in-house population for the month of June was 796 inmates. Our overtime report, out-of-county boarding report, and community service report are attached. Staffing update, we have 166 uniformed staff on shift, 1 on continuous FMLA, 3 on administrative leave, and we have 8 vacancies. GED and RFP was recently advertised, and the submission date was Friday, 7/6. I received 2 responses. One was from Penn Foster, and the other was from Outreach, formerly known as EOTC. I provided members of the board with electronic copies of the 2 submissions, and my comments at this time are that the Penn Foster submission wasn't for a GED program. It was for a high school diploma program, which is something that intrigued me very much, and I am looking at that as well. The submission from Outreach is for a GED program and presently under review. FMLA, 23 officers have intermittent FMLA and 1 officer has continuous. That amounts to 13.7% of the COs. As of June 30th, 2018, revenues at 48% and expenses are at 50%. Juveniles, currently we're housing 2 juveniles, 1 male, 1 female. Inmates at or past their minimum date, the number is 25. We have 7 with no home plan. 1 of them is in our community service program, working his way to work release and hopefully house arrest for him. 1 parole has been denied due to an unacceptable home plan. 10 have a home plan submitted and they're awaiting parole. 6 have been remanded for the balance of their sentence, and that 1 guy is still out in New Jersey for 4 or 5 months now. Extraordinary occurrence reports, there were 4 since the last prison board meeting. On July 6th, the county inmate was placed into the restraint chair for his own safety after expressing suicidal ideations and refusing to follow staff orders. Also on 7/6, a U.S. Marshal inmate assaulted another U.S. Marshal inmate, and OC spray was used to stop the assault after verbal commands weren't successful. On 7/14, a county inmate was out of his cell without authorization. He refused to return to his cell and resisted staff trying to return him to his cell. Staff had to deploy OC spray in an attempt to obtain this inmate's compliance, and due to his continued non-compliant behavior, he was placed into the emergency restraint chair for staff safety. On 7/15, a county inmate threw feces out of his cell. Staff responded to his cell, and he explained that he had more to throw. A sergeant informed him that they needed to remove him to clean his cell area, and he refused all orders to be cuffed. We had to administer OC spray again, and he then complied with staff orders and was removed from his cell, and we decontaminated that, and we cleaned him up as well. PREA, there were 2 allegations of PREA violations in the month of June. One was a staff on inmate in nature and was deemed unfounded. The other was an inmate on inmate allegation and remains under investigation. The result of the completed investigation was forwarded to the district attorney's office. And this concludes my report.
Okay, Warden, thank you very much. Let's go back to the GED for a minute.
Sure.
And I'm sure all members of the board here received the 2 proposals.
Yes.
Warren, just could you elaborate a little bit more why you support the one over the other, just to give the
Well-
people an idea why you feel?
Yeah, and I don't want to come off it sounding anything bad about the submission from Penn Foster, but what they submitted was an alternative high school program, high school graduation, high school diploma program. It's based predominantly on internet access, something we have very limited internet access in our facility, and I perceive it as being very complicated for us to establish because people come in at all different reading and writing levels. different levels of where they were in high school, if they were in high school, when they dropped out of school, and how many credits they would have to earn. I didn't see it real workable for us because we'd probably have to dedicate an entire classroom and anywhere from 6 to 10 computers for individuals to be at for hours and hours and hours. The kind of GED class we ran in the past, it was a set schedule. We knew who was going to it. We got those people from where they were to that classroom. The instructors were there and provided instruction for them, and it was a very systemic type of thing. It was very systematic, I should say, in that we knew every day at 9 o'clock till 11:30 they were going to be in class, then they would go back for lunch, and then they'd come back and be in there from 1 to 4, just an example. But we knew exactly who was going, when they were going, and how long this was going to take. And it's a GED program. High school diploma is great. And again, I'm intrigued by this Penn Foster submission because it may be something that we can take a look at as well. We already have Scranton High School in there, but there are certain qualifications that a lot of people don't meet. With Scranton High School, if you're over 21, you're out of business. There's nothing you can do there. With Penn Foster, you could be a 25-year-old who dropped out of school when you were 16 and go through the Penn Foster program and get an actual high school diploma. But a GED is an equivalency diploma. I just think it's easier for our inmates, the revolving door that we have, how quick in and out they are. I think the GED is, at this point in time, more appropriate. But there may be some people, if we know we're going to have them for a while, that might be good candidates to consider this Penn Foster program in the future.
Yeah, when I was reading this, it says statewide, we rank third in recidivation rates. We're up 52%. The median is 41%.
Yeah.
And it shows that this program is beneficial.
I've said it all along. Getting that GED as in comparison to no high school diploma or GED, it opens so many doors. It really does. And not only that, it helps the individual's self-esteem and it makes them feel like they can accomplish something. And that usually helps them to accomplish something else, which is a good thing.
Does any other members want to address Mr. Betty regarding the GED?
I have something.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I made a few notes regarding the GED program, having received 2 proposals on our request for proposals, and hearing from our chairman, Judge Gibbons. I believe offering a GED certification, which is a general education diploma certification for inmates, is one of the most basic benefits our county can provide, besides the most basic responsibilities of food, shelter, and safety to the inmates, to our staff, and to our community. And this service is being provided with funds generated by inmates through sales in our commissary. In 2010, as the sheriff mentioned, the data showed that 38% of our Lackawanna County inmates did not possess a high school diploma, and 76% were unemployed prior to their incarceration. In a 2012 Lackawanna County prison report, approximately 54% of county sentenced prisoners who were released in the years 2007 and 2008 were reincarcerated within 3 years. That's 54% came back to us. Lackawanna County ranked third in reincarceration throughout the state, as the state average reincarceration percentage was 41% in 2013. GED certification helps former inmates find employment that signifies a reduction in the types of behavior that can lead to future arrests. Data shows prison educational programs reduce reincarceration by 44% and increases the odds of finding employment by over 13%. Locally, a Marywood University study revealed that the reincarceration rate was 27% lower for Lackawanna County prison inmates who participated in Outreach's educational program, formerly EOTC. Finally, a study by Rand Corporation, which was done between the periods of 1980 to 2011 found educational programming in prisons cost-effective by saving $4 to $5 for every dollar invested in educational programs by prisons. This GED preparation and testing would be provided to approximately 80 inmates per year, with each student receiving 10 to 12 hours of classroom instruction per week with a 90-day curriculum cycle. In 2012, the EOTC GED program saw 72.6% of Lackawanna County Prison inmate students passing the course. With that said, first I'd like to say it's my office's opinion that based on our analysis of the GED program being proposed by formerly EOTC, now Outreach, can be sustained for an extended period of time. Cannot say indefinitely, but for an extended period of time. With that said, I'd like to make a motion for our Lackawanna County Prison Board to recommend to the Lackawanna County Commissioners offering a GED program through the Outreach Center for Community Resources. And have that be decided upon by the Commissioners, which I think is our responsibility, or our role, I should say.
Does anybody else want to comment about this issue?
I don't believe it's our role, but
I'm saying the role.
So I can hear you.
I'm saying it's our role as a prison board to recommend something to the Commissioners for approval. Yeah.
Does anybody else want to comment about these proposals?
Through the time that I spent working at the Lackawanna County Prison, myself and Warden Betty, who was a counselor at the time, tell me how many people we had to go through that graduated? A lot.
Yeah, over the years, a lot.
And really, he was truthful. The big thing I thought from the whole experience was the fact that they accomplished something. A lot of these individuals, they may have had bad home lives, not the greatest opportunities, but then they got to prison, and all of a sudden, this was something that was in front of them, and a lot of the inmates, they pushed themselves through it. And like I said, the big thing that's on, when you go to apply for a job, it's right in the application. Do you have a high school diploma or a GED? And it was noticeable. There was a decent amount that did not come back after the fact of them actually having the diploma, because it made them think that they could believe in themselves. And the test, am I right? The test isn't easy. It's
Oh, no.
not an easy test for them. And I think Marywood actually was doing it back then, wasn't it, Warden? Or,
Yeah, years ago, Marywood, and then the OTC picked up
Yeah.
the baton.
Well, what's nice about this now, like you said, it's all in-house, and it'll give them also an opportunity to get out of the block, and it puts them in an environment where they're learning, instead of learning, how would I say, bad habits from other inmates. Because let me just tell you, prison is not a nice place, and you're in prison with some people that are way beyond, that have a different way of thinking, and education is definitely a way out for them, so I think it's a good opportunity. That's it. I'll second it.
Anybody else want to comment on the board regarding these proposals?
I'm just not sure how it's going to help them to provide or provide employment when a job application also asks if you've been convicted of a felony or crime or misdemeanor, which is also going to take into effect whether they're going to get that job or not. So, depending on whether they're state regulated, which my company is, they wouldn't be able to get hired at my company anyway. So it wouldn't matter if they had a GED or not. Just saying.
What I saw was that the fact that maybe a lot of times that this individual would actually, it would make them have a, how do you say, a better understanding of who they were as a person going into an interview process after they had a GED at least. Because it was one less question they didn't answer no to, they've answered yes to. And a lot of times in an interview, and I understand what you're saying, Commissioner, that a lot of times you can't get jobs because of you having a bad background, or you might have misdemeanors or felonies or something such as that. But a lot of times in an interview, private sector, you're selling yourself. So, I think the GED just helps them to get that job that they're looking for, and it also gives them the confidence to go out and try.
Regardless of what we may think,
I think we gotta try to help.
the statistics show it reduces recidivism. And you're talking about a program that's being funded by the canteen fund and not increasing a tax obligation on the county. What's the downside to it?
Well, what stuck out to me was when I read that this county is third in recidivism. The median in the whole Commonwealth is 41%. We're at 52. So many more inmates that get released are coming back. And this is just me speaking personally. I think the GED is good for the inmates, okay? We want to reduce the rate of recidivism. We want them to be productive members of our community. And it's not taxing the taxpayers. It's coming out of the canteen fund. So I don't see a downside to it, but that's just my opinion. I'm going to let it come to a vote to the board and a vote to see which, if they do vote this way, which company they like to go through. And I think I heard Mr. DeBilio make a motion to accept outreach. Did I hear you correctly?
Well, the warden believes, Judge Gibbons also believes that that would be the program that's more
Yes.
appropriate for our needs.
Have a motion and a second.
How this is going to help us, if this is going to reduce the recidivism in Lackawanna County? Because if you're saying that this is going to help reduce them coming back to jail, then I would like to make sure that we also have in place a study that proves that this is what it's doing. If that's your reasoning for doing this.
Well, this is a recommendation to the commissioners. Ultimately, going to be up to the commissioners, but, I mean, you're free to invite representatives from
But if
these-
that's your reasoning, that's what I would like to know. Is that the board's reasoning?
That's my, yes.
Go ahead, Warden.
I just wanted to point out that EOTC, now known as Outreach, they've always tracked recidivism rates for their programs and how things interrelate, and I kind of snuck a look at Jane back there. I mean, that's... Yeah. It's something that will occur. It will occur. They will provide an annual report showing what it shows. I mean, recidivism's kind of hard because we usually look at a 3-year time period because you need some time before you can confidently say this person's not recidivating. You can't do it in a month or two. But they're constantly throwing numbers our way as far as recidivism goes and how effective their programs are in reducing recidivism. So they can compare it to the rest of the population that didn't have GED in this case.
All the statistics are right here. So,
Yeah.
having said that, I'm going to ask if anybody would like to make a motion. Would you recommend? Okay, is there a second? I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay. Well, that passes.
One abstention.
One abstention. Any other questions for Mr. Betty regarding his report? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Very much. Okay.
Motion to
Okay, you're ahead of me. Okay, thank you, sir. Motion to accept the warden's report. Mr. Terriani's.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, this is the time for the public if they want to address the board. Anybody want to come up, just give your name, please?
My name is Ro Hume. I'm from the Hill section. Do you need an address? No? No.
I'm sorry to get your name.
Ro Hume. Sorry, bad accent.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. I'd like to, the last prison board meeting that I had the pleasure of attending, we discussed the provision of tablets within the prison. And I'd like to draw the board's attention to the article that was in this morning's Times Tribune and some further research that I had done on this following our last meeting. I'm here as a representative of the NEPA Healthcare Defenders Coalition and also as a volunteer with the colloquially known bookmobile at the prison. The article this morning is self-explanatory. It argues for the benefits of the provision of tablets to inmates in facilities like the Lackawanna County Prison. And it points to the research which shows a decrease in tension, calmer attitudes, more diversion for the inmates, and which makes the correctional officers' jobs easier. It points to the cost benefits of the thing in the fact that the commercial capitalist companies which provide the tablets provide them free of charge and provide kiosks at which programs approved by the institution can be downloaded by the prisoners. Therefore, there is no cost to the prison system or to the board. There is a point of view that if we put these people in there, they're disposable. And what's the point of giving them education? What's the point of giving them recreation? What's the point of giving them diversion? The research shows that rehabilitation versus punishment is an argument that will go on as long as people lock up other people and as long as people commit crimes. But 50 years ago, there was an enormous movement which said putting television sets in common rooms or in individual cells, as they do in the UK, was spoiling the prisoners, that somehow or other, as they had committed an offence against society, they should not have television sets because that might be a good thing. We've long passed that. The institution has television sets in each dorm room, each cell block, where people can divert themselves. The research shows that the provision of these tablets brings in... Sorry, was it something I said? Makes it calmer. They have the opportunity for educational things and leads further to their integration in society. I would like to know whether the board has evolved and has progressed in its thinking about the provision of these tablets to the inmates in Lackawanna County Prison.
Board, did we discuss this before? Yes. You want me to come up there and address that, please? Yeah.
What I had said before was that when we were ready, that we would be presenting the board with a policy to ensure that everyone on the board fully understood how we were going to utilize them, and everybody was fine with it. We're not there yet. The wiring continues to go on. They ran into a couple snafus. The phone provider is the one that'll be giving us the e-tablets, and they kind of had to rewire parts of it, and it's very difficult wiring inside the facility. And we're not quite there. I expect in the fall, we'll be coming forward with a policy saying this is what other institutions are doing, this is how we'd like to use this, but we didn't have any intention of moving past that point until we got the board's blessing.
And this will be under supervision.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's something I know that it's something that you would not want them to have for so long.
Right, right. And we're checking other institutions, how you guys doing it, just to see. And, there's a lot of shared tablets, they'll have X amount of tablets for a block. The tablets would be left out on the picnic table areas in the day room. They have to be essentially checked out. If you wanted one, you'd have to check it out and we'd have your name down, that kind of thing. But we're still working on all of that.
Good afternoon. Dr. Jean Harris, and I'm with the Progressive Women of Northeast Pennsylvania. At the last prison board meeting, we raised some questions about policy development, specifically a policy that would explain how the decisions are made about the use of the canteen funds, and a policy pertaining to hormone therapy of gender dysphoria to ensure adequate treatment for transgender inmates. So since we've had some lawsuits because the prison hasn't necessarily offered the hormone therapy. So my question just is, has there been any further discussion by board members on development of these policies? And if there hasn't been further discussion, will there be further discussions on those two policies?
Mr. Salfinelli, would you address the issue about the hormone? Does it be in litigation?
A little more complicated because we can't intrude into the actual provision of medical services that's decided by a medical professional, a doctor. We can advance our request to him to analyze these issues, but in the same way we couldn't write a policy saying we'll give a particular drug to an inmate. That's beyond the area of expertise. Obviously, the policies are to comply with all constitutional rights of the inmates, And that's, on all matters, that's the policy of the board. So that one's a little trickier, but I think there was some discussion about trying to come up with a policy for the use of canteen funds because it's not strictly regulated by statute anymore. And I think that's a discussion that's still underway. The policy hasn't been created yet, but it's certainly something that board members have expressed to me that they're open to, and it's probably something we'll see in the future.
Just to follow up then, in terms of the hormone therapy, so there's been 2 lawsuits. The first one, the board was held responsible for not providing the therapy that the individual was supposed to be given. And I know when the inmates first come in, they're supposed to report medical needs, and then they're supposed to be within a reasonable amount of time, I think the inmate guidebook says, meet with a physician to see what their needs are. So now there's a second lawsuit. It seems that it would be incumbent on the board to make sure that the medical contractor is following law and precedent of those lawsuits. Isn't that broad enough a policy? I'm not saying you have to, do you want to prevent lawsuits? Shouldn't there be a policy that holds the doctor accountable?
But he can lose his license.
How?
Because it's not verified science. It's not he's correct. I mean, there's too many side effects. I have all the side effects right here.
But if a doctor
We can't
prescribes
get
it,
into pending litigation as
Our
a
doctor
policy,
did.
but
Correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney, but
no, that,
appropriate to discuss it further
Well-
while there's pending litigation?
we do not do that.
So- is the prison board looking at this to see if this is an area where there may be a policy written to prevent future lawsuits? That was really the question. And you said there needs to be more analysis, and I understand that.
I think it's fair to say that that's the topic of conversation.
Okay.
but-
And inmates do have the right to their medical prescriptions. They are human beings, and we are supposed to treat them well when they're in prison. We are not supposed to harm them anymore. And by offering them their medical prescriptions, as well as educational opportunities, we can make sure that they become good community members again and not recidivate, and we are all better off. And that's the Christian thing to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is, and this is not proven to be safe for anyone, this treatment that you're referring to. So until they have something that tells me that they can't possibly create a stroke or cause a stroke or a heart attack in someone that's taking hormone therapy. Is Doctor still here? Where is she?
Over here.
Okay. That's what I'm looking at, is the safety issue. It has nothing to do with being a Christian or anything else other than safety of the people that are in the prison. And if you can guarantee me that no one would not be possibly having a side effect of having a stroke or a heart attack from these hormones, then I would say, okay, then you have yourself a deal with me. But until somebody can guarantee me that, that would be my opinion on it. It's just my personal opinion, that's all. Exactly, exactly.
Does anybody else have anything to say
Take it
to
by
the board
choice.
that's not related to the hormone issue?
My name is Dr. Stephanie Bressler. I live in Scranton, and I'm also representing Progressive Women of NEPA. According to a June article in the Times Tribune, of the hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees expended related to the grand jury probe into sex abuse at the prison, the majority is reported to have been spent on attorneys reviewing emails and other documents seized during the September raid. Has that review been completed? What is the outcome of that review? In the spirit of increased transparency, will a report of that review be made public? So will we know the percentage, for example, the percentage of documents that have been deemed appropriate to go to the Attorney General and those that have been defined as not being appropriate to go to the Attorney General as he continues this probe?
Dr. Bresser, that also falls under a question of pending litigation. I think it's been misunderstood exactly what's going on. You know, in broad strokes, there were millions and millions of documents, paper and electronic, that were subject to these issues, and there were questions of who's, not only the scope of it, but whose rights and what privileged materials may be in there, and without getting into any particular issues, or it's not transparency or not, but there's liability, there's a broad array of people that could be affected, different departments, different entities, different individuals, and in any case, not just a government matter, but when you have documents of that scope, that they have to be evaluated to make sure that you're not violating someone's rights, and to identify what's in there. And there's a substantial amount of man-hours that would be involved in doing that would, you know, conceivably you could shut down every operation in the county and dedicate all the employees to do that for large periods of time. So it's not a matter of certain information that's trying to be concealed or not disclosed, but it's just a matter of protecting the rights and propriety of the entire process.
Certainly, I'm aware of that and would not ask questions about that. But my question, the first question is pretty simple. Has that review been completed, or is it ongoing? That's a very basic question that certainly does not ask about any confidential matters.
I think that's actually beyond what this body is doing. I don't think we're able to provide you the answer because we don't know it.
So you don't know whether the review is completed?
I don't. That's a matter, I believe that's with the county
Chief
itself.
Solicitor is the one that heads all of that.
Yeah, that would be
I
a
know
county
the
meeting, you would
solicitor.
have to ask that.
Okay. Is the prison board interested in whether this review has been completed?
I think we're just going down
It would
the
be
rabbit hole here and as to,
Counsel has not
Yeah, our solicitors.
Okay, okay.
regarding.
Okay, so that's an answer. The county attorney has not informed you that that review is completed. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Missy Welshko-Williams from Madison Township. Today, I guess I'm speaking on behalf of NEPA Prison Advocates. Beth Zero could not be here today. She does have a new employee, and she asked me to inquire what they would have to do to try to get this woman in to see the female prisoners, to provide instruction in yoga and meditation. There'd be no religious dogma associated with this practice, just yoga and meditation.
Warden?
Our normal procedure is an individual will reach out to us and we would point them to the appropriate person. It would be Mari Finland and/or Colleen Orzel. I would have them.
You'd have to go through the prison officials then.
Start with the warden.
Yeah, because we don't really regulate any of that.
Okay, would they need clearances or anything? Start that process first, too?
Yes.
Okay. I'll let Beth know, and thank you very much for your time.
Joan Hodawan at Scranton. I too saw the article in this morning's paper about the laptops, and I don't need to rehash what has already been said, but it brings to mind one thing that you should keep in mind as we go forward with preparing to reoffer GED classes, and that is computer literacy. Computer literacy is what print literacy was in the 19th century. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if when these people take their GED tests that they're going to be taking it on a computer terminal. So one of the things you probably should be thinking about, you know, with the laptops and with the GED program is, are your potential student candidates have any computer literacy whatsoever? Because among other things, having a GED is one thing to enhance your marketability when you get out of confinement, but the other thing is you've got to be technologically savvy more and more. you can't even work as a waitress in a restaurant if you can't use, computers. Because your cash register is essentially a computer. Taking orders is done by computer. So as the warden gets to the point where he comes up with the policy for using laptops within the prison, you may want to fold into the GED program at least some basic computer literacy classes for those who have not been trained in the past. And you may have inmates in that category who otherwise may not benefit by being offered a GED program. Thank you.
I think that's part of the starting up, isn't it? Yes. What I read, they have 6 desktop computers.
Yeah.
And I believe that's going to be offered, Joan.
Yeah, there'll be a keyboarding class for people who aren't familiar with computers.
Exactly. That was my understanding. So that's going to be offered too then.
That'll give them a distinct advantage.
Yes.
This is the classroom setting.
This is during classroom setting.
Which classroom?
That's a GED program through outreach.
They have access to the internet?
Pardon me? That's right.
Can you address the question that just came up regarding the...
Yes, we put in the contract, that part of the proposal was not only for the GED instruction, but because now the GED test is computerized, that we would have to do keyboarding. So that was already taken into account, it's already in the proposal, and it's part of the whole package. Yeah.
They have access to the internet?
They will not have access to the internet. Everything will be uploaded, and the inmate will take the test. Right, right. But even for the testing, it will not be live. What'll happen is it'll come into us, we will upload the tests to a flash drive, put it on the computer where they take it, download it after they're done, and upload it back to the state. So there's no internet access, period.
This will all be supervised during this process.
Correct. Yeah, they'll never be alone with a computer or anything like that.
No. Thank you very much. Anyone else like to address the board? Members, other business? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.